Today is the day, everyone. We finally get to put on a new slip-on exhaust on the Triumph Daytona 955i. As far as I'm aware, this is the original exhaust, but if you want something that is a little bit more exciting, shall we say, if you want to turn your motorcycle into something that's a little bit more exciting, or maybe it's getting a little bit long in the tooth, I'd heavily recommend getting a new slip-on exhaust. Really easy job to do yourselves. And well, this system is from Dominator Exhaust, and there was a little bit of an issue with these because they were made and shipped from Poland. I thought they were quite reasonable on the price, but unfortunately as soon as they hit the UK, they got some extra import taxes and duties that, well, kind of made this exhaust, I don't know, a little bit, I think a little bit too expensive. I think maybe domestically I could have gotten something a little bit cheaper, but it is what it is. We are here. So let's go ahead and install it. Hopefully it sounds really good. Right, so for this job, it should be a case of just a couple of bolts to undo, and this old exhaust should just slide right out. Let's have a go. Oh, yeah, a bit tight. There is a nut on the other side. Now, I'm not sure if these are the original bolts or not, but we've got a 12mm on this side. And this is a 13mm socket. Yeah, it looks like a 13mm on the other side. Interesting. So it should just come right out. Oh. That is very heavy. But yeah, this is a Triumph exhaust. Come on. There we go. Okay. So that's pretty much how it's going to look. There is a baffle in there which I think I am going to take out. Not the easiest screw to get to if you're looking to take the baffle out. There you go, quite a big baffle. Right, shall we have a little listen? Oh, looking forward to this. For reference, this is what the old exhaust sounded like. All right, here we go. Forgive me, neighbours. You ready? Brutal. See what it sounds like with the baffle. Huge difference. I've noticed there's a bit of an air leak here, so I've got to try and sort that one out. Alright, so all I've done is that I've just pushed the exhaust down a little bit further into the tube, so let's tighten it down and see if that fixes it. So unfortunately it didn't work. I tried to move the pipe around a little bit, I tried to really tighten it down with the clamps, but there was still an exhaust leak. So I decided to get myself some exhaust sealer and I put it around where the joins are, so basically where the clamps would go. Thankfully this did actually fix the exhaust leak, but unfortunately that wasn't going to be the end of my troubles. So it seems to sound okay. You can hear a little bit of sputter there. But if I go to ride it, so even in first gear, if I'm in low RPMs and then I just pull on that throttle, hear that sputtering? It gets really bad if I start going up gears. So we're in second right now, and if I give it gas again, it's probably a little bit, it'll probably be a little bit more noticeable if we're going uphill, but here we go. It shouldn't be doing that. I thought it was an exhaust leak, but I've sealed all that up, there's no more exhaust leaks. See, I have a feeling if I'm in 6th gear and I do that, the bike will stall out. So, yeah, it's got to be something else. At this point I did feel a little bit stuck because I looked in forums and there wasn't really a lot of information about slip-on exhaust for this Daytona or this era of Daytona, apart from just flashing the ECU, so using a piece of software to flash the ECU. And during this whole experience I actually got to know the bike quite a bit, and it turns out it's got a standard OBD2 connector like you would find in a car, so you can plug in just a regular OBD2 reader and read and erase codes. It's really cool. But you can also use that same socket, that same interface, to tune the bike, to flash the bike's ECU at home using open source software. But today we're not going to go into that in too much detail. I did do a little bit of playing around with it, but we're going to leave that for a dedicated video, hopefully in the near future. But for right now, I was a little bit stuck. Which brings us to today, everybody. I've finally got the Daytona working with this new aftermarket slip-on exhaust without having to do any tuning or any fiddling around with the ECU. All I had to do, funnily enough, was put in the baffle. The issue would only happen whenever I take the baffle out, which is a little bit annoying because I do prefer the sound without the baffle, but it is what it is, and we're gonna leave the tuning and fiddling around with that kind of stuff for another video where hopefully we can get this bike running without the baffle as well. But for now, let's see what this motorcycle is like to ride with this new slip-on exhaust. I do think it sounds a little bit better, not gonna lie. Not to mention the fact that the bike has got so much less weight to carry here at the back end. It does sound good. And the thing is, guys, that original exhaust did sound really good as well, in my humble opinion. Despite the fact that it was incredibly heavy, I didn't mind the sound of that exhaust, and that was totally stock as well. But I'm pretty sure that the issue I was having has got to be something to do with the fueling or the air to fuel ratio, something like that. So I am going to have to do some fiddling with the ECU to get this bike running properly without the baffle. I'm pretty sure that that's what the issue is anyway. Of course, you lot let me know down in the comment section if you have any other ideas of what the issue could be. I did see some suggestions of like a back pressure issue or something like that, but yeah, that's again going to be down to tuning the engine. I did see in some forums about potentially a vacuum leak, but the bike was running absolutely fine with the old exhaust. Why would it not run properly with the new exhaust? You know, if there was a vacuum leak. I seriously doubt there's a vacuum leak on this bike, because as we're finding right now, well, the bike is running absolutely fine. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not a vacuum leak either. Now, I don't think I've had any sort of performance gains from this exhaust, at least apart from reducing the weight. That is pretty much all I think I've done so far, at least. So there's something to keep in mind, unfortunately, with this bike, is that if you are going to chuck on a slip-on exhaust, well, you may need to do some tuning with the ECU to really get the bike running properly. But watch this. So that was 100% throttle in third gear. Might have been second gear, I think it was third gear, but yeah, 100% throttle, and it didn't sputter whatsoever. Went all the way through the range without any issue. And that is how the bike was running before. So I'm glad at least that I've been able to get this working with an aftermarket exhaust, slip-on exhaust, without having to do anything else, because I was a little bit worried that I'd have to send off that new exhaust back and put the old one back on again, just because, well, the bike simply wasn't running right. But I mean, that exhaust cost me a small fortune in the end. I can't remember if I mentioned this already, but because, yeah, Britain is no longer part of the European Union, getting things imported from the EU is very expensive now. So the exhaust cost me £180, which I thought was really reasonable at the time, and I thought I'd give it a go. And then I realised a few days later that it is coming from Poland, and I'd probably have to pay import fees. Those import fees ended up costing another 60 quid. So all in all, this bike is, the exhaust, the slip-on exhaust for this bike has cost me around about £230, 240 pounds, which I think is actually quite expensive. You know, I could have got something else, a more premium exhaust. The reason why I went for that one is because it was more budget friendly, but it seemed like decent quality. But yeah, it's just something to keep in mind, you guys, alright? If you're looking to buy one of these exhausts, and you can buy them directly from the website as well, you are going to be paying roughly £50–60 in import fees, import taxes into the UK, unless you are in Europe. You know, I bet the import taxes are probably even cheaper in the United States as well. It is what it is, and it's a learning experience, I suppose. But yeah, it is a bit of a pain, but I am going to be keeping this exhaust. I think it sounds a little bit nicer than the old exhaust. It's a tad louder, and it is significantly lighter, so I do think it is a big benefit for this bike in the short term and in the long term. And hopefully one day we can get that throttle issue sorted with a little bit of ECU tuning, and well, that'll be my first experience of doing that, so we'll see how it goes. I'm going to start off with just flashing it with someone else's tune, so a tune that's got some reviews and a tune that, you know, that people seem to trust. That's what I'll try first, without the baffle. And I don't know, maybe at that point I might do a little tweaks myself if I'm not happy with it. We'll see on that front, because it could nuke the bike, so I've got to be careful. But yeah, everyone, I mean, this is pretty much now what the Triumph Daytona is going to sound like going forward. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep that old exhaust until I come to sell this bike. That's a Rocket 3, nice. Yeah, gonna keep that old exhaust, so I'm not gonna sell it. Put that new exhaust on it. Or excuse me, put the old exhaust back on it. Put the new exhaust online. I'll just sell it privately online. I think that's probably the best thing to do, because then I should be able to recoup some of that money off the exhaust. Aftermarket exhaust on bikes, if they sell with aftermarket exhaust, it doesn't increase the value of the bike. Not really, especially when it's something that is this old. Alright, so yeah, don't fall into the trap of thinking that because it's got aftermarket stuff on it that it is more valuable. It isn't. So keep the original stuff. If there's anything that you put on it, keep the original stuff, put that back on the bike when you come to sell it, and then sell the aftermarket stuff privately. You'll make more money off it that way. So especially if someone's trying to look for a Dominator exhaust, you know, they don't have to pay import fees to get it imported from Poland. But I mean, all in all, I think the quality of the exhaust is very, very good. I'm really happy with it, and I think it does sound really nice, and the fact that you can remove the baffle, you do have that option, I think is really, really cool, and that is something that a lot of the more expensive slip-on exhausts have. So yeah, man, really, really good stuff. I'm quite pleased with it, despite the fact that I paid a little bit more. And this little journey that we've gone through today, well, hopefully it's helped you out if you do own a Daytona 955i or you're looking to buy one. Well, hopefully if you're looking to do something aftermarket with it, I do recommend it on any motorcycle. Get an aftermarket slip-on exhaust. It will totally change the way how the bike feels to ride, and it'll make it a little bit more exciting. I don't know, I think it is mostly a placebo effect, but it does make the bike more fun to ride than the original exhaust for the most part, despite the fact that the exhaust on this bike, the stock one, I thought was really, really good, or at least it sounded really good anyway, and it did suit the look of the bike. But I do think that the slip-on this one does suit the look of the bike as well. So yeah, it's a difficult one. Everyone's here for mass. I think it's a Sunday morning. We're out today shooting this video, but yeah, had a few days off, everybody. I hope that you don't mind. I just needed some time off, and it was around my birthday, so I thought, well, yeah, we'll take a little bit of time off and recharge the batteries ever so slightly, and then come back at this with full force. But I really like it, and unfortunately I wasn't able to find anything that really could solve that issue that I had with the bike, where the exhaust does hang quite low. I didn't see anything that would help in that regard. I don't know, maybe one day we can have a look at it. But yeah, it does hang incredibly low. I don't know why Triumph designed it like that, but yeah, it is what it is. But let's have one last little listen here. Yeah, it sounds really good, everybody. I absolutely love the sound of this bike now, and I did like it before, but that weight saving is awesome. I mean, you're going to get more power to weight ratio just from that anyway, so even if it doesn't increase horsepower, you're still going to be getting a bit of benefit from it. But thank you so much for watching this little journey that we've had on the Triumph Daytona 955i. And I hope, like I said earlier, I hope that this video has helped you out. And if it has, go ahead, leave that like, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. And we'll see you all there next time, everybody. Thanks again. Take care. Ride safe.